This is Dr. Ordenbrink. What are the 12 steps that we keep talking about? What is involved with all of this? We'll discuss that during this next sequence.
The 12 steps. Step 1. We admitted we were powerless over drugs and alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. We. This is a we program. Nobody can get straight alone. We are in this together. Admitted, became aware, realized, recognized, and let it be known to others. Powerless, lack of control or ability to influence. Drugs, alcohol. This is the only mention of substances or behaviors in any of the 12 steps. Remember, use of a substance or behavior is only a symptom of the underlying problem. We ain't right. We need to have our brains washed. The 12 steps are the washing machine for our brains. The abuse is merely a symptom of our disease. Things are unmanageable. We are unable to cope, out of control. Step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Came to believe. A power, something supernatural. Back to the spiritual, but let's not call it God just yet. That term drives people who need help away, so let's use another power. That higher power admits to the possibility of something transcendent, even if it's only just the group of drunks or druggies. Restore, to replace what is lost. Sanity, the ability to think and behave in a normal and rational manner. Sound mental health. A trained behavioral scientist in 12-step meetings can make diagnosis of virtually every mental illness imaginable sitting in those rooms if they go to enough meetings. These diseases are all treated differently with medication and types of counseling and therapy, yet they all improve by working the 12-step program. By the same measure, it's impossible to diagnose with certainty any mental illness and the disease of addiction until at least a year of true recovery has happened. This is another miracle of the program. Addiction can manifest as every known form of mental illness. Addiction amplifies and exaggerates these diseases as well. This is yet another example of the distortion caused by addiction. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. This is another key concept for recovery. This is very important. Decision, a choice freely made without coercion. Turn our will and our lives. This is also huge. We've surrendered completely. We've given up trying to control our lives for ourselves. We do not know what's in our own best interests. This is acceptance of God's will in our life. The care of God, higher power, understanding that we are under its care, and all that it has care and concern for us, wishing us well, and that no matter how bad things seem to get, it will ultimately be in our best interest. I have what I call the 24-month rule. The worst things in my life that have ever happened to me, within 24 months, I can look at the event and see a bright silver lining to that big dark cloud that came into my life. If you're patient and you just wait, He makes roses bloom out of bullshit. In the 12-step programs, we share our experience, strength, and hope. We don't give advice or direction. My personal experience has been that my higher power, whom I choose to address as God, allows me to go through difficulties in life. Growth often involves pain. We are all made in the image and likeness of God. That is my personal belief. I also believe that these painful events in our life are the hammer, the anvil, and the fire that He uses to forge us in a more perfect example of His image. But He will only do this with our consent and our cooperation. I come out of these difficulties as a much stronger and better person than before the situation that he allowed me to have. My faith is much stronger after such a test. We can choose to violate the decision of his and try to run away from that lesson, but it will find us and probably be repeated a few more times in our lives just to make sure that we've truly learned that particular lesson. It's best to go through it the first time and not run for it. Since we've learned that addiction can mimic all known emotional and mental illness, it can be useful to think of this as one of the many miracles provided by the higher power, whatever you conceive that to be, but the one that you agreed to the existence of in step 2 above. Once we truly decide to turn ourselves over, the miracles of the promises begin. The miracles will continue as long as the program is practiced and shared with others. Not my program, but the program.
Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. This is the first action step involving pen and paper or keyboard. It will take a lot of time, work, reflection, and help from a good sponsor and possibly a good therapist. Sometimes that therapist may be required. It absolutely will require your sponsor. This involves a thorough and complete moral inventory. Don't forget to add the good with the bad. Not just what you did right or wrong, but why you did so. A good sponsor is essential for this step. When I did my own 4th and 5th steps, my sponsor pointed out all the different areas in my life where I had fear. I didn't realize or recognize that I'd had this fear. Sure, I had anxiety about different things, especially money. Who wouldn't? But what happened in my case happens in many cases. Anger is very common early in recovery. Anger is fed by fear. And once you can identify the source of the fear and put it to rest, recognize it, name it, it tends to lose its power. As the fear lost its power, the anger resolved. Again, a sponsor will help you with this. This is more about the wrongdoing. Again, it's the underlying reasons for the wrongdoing. Without being completely thorough and honest, future relapse is likely or even guaranteed. This step will also form the basis for the 8th and 9th steps ahead.
Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. God, it's okay to use higher power if preferred. Another human being, it's essential to communicate this information derived from step 4 to another person. Often, but not necessarily your sponsor. Ideally, often the other person, perhaps your sponsor, will share similar issues and experiences with the person doing the step, known as the sponsee. The exact nature involves not only the wrongdoing, but the underlying reason and motive behind it. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. The higher power from steps 2 and 3 is the source of this healing, restoration to sanity and revocation of mental illness. The compulsion to drink may be lifted with step 3, sometimes persistent longer, so it may resolve after step 6. Entirely ready means without reservations, no matter what may come. God, the higher power, removes these defects, but only with our unreserved consent and cooperation. Defects, faults, failures. Character, our most basic moral character. Step 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. When you have nowhere else to turn and are on your knees, turning to your higher power, you are at your strongest. This is done with the humble realization that we have not been able to heal ourselves. We admitted that our issues have been our shortcomings.
Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. After having done step number 4 with the realization of the harms done by our moral failings and faults, it's now time to start contemplating being able to make appropriate amends and to whom these amends should be made. This requires review with a good sponsor. This is not about bimbos and bookies. It's not about making apologies. It's about becoming ready and willing to amend our behavior and letting those we've affected know about this. Made. This is another action step. A list of all persons, everybody, and this list will include second generation harms. We have harmed somebody who in turn harmed another due to what we have done to them. Became willing, in part because of having done the fifth step, we became willing to make amends to them all.
Step 9. Made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Amend, to make better or improve. The U.S. Constitution has 27 amendments. Not one of them starts with an apology. Imagine driving a huge railroad spike into the middle of an expensive polished mahogany conference table. An apology would entail removing the spike, leaving a large hole. An amend is to fix the table in a manner satisfactory to the owner of the table. Except when to do so would involve injury to them or especially to others. You do not want to injure other people. An example would be undiscovered fidelity. If you insist on the cheater to go back to their spouse who is ignorant of the affair and tell them what had happened, this would just breed distrust in the relationship. If the victim of the spouse was ignorant of the wrongdoing, it's best not to expose and cause pain. If there has truly been a change, the future transgressions are quite unlikely. Now, if this change has not happened, give it time, and hopefully with growth it will improve. The amends process is to heal you, not the other person. It releases you from a spiritual bondage, a form of guilt toward that other person. Step 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Continued means that this is an ongoing process, often done at the end of each day with a daily review or reflection, especially regarding any problems that may have occurred and how they were responded to. When we were wrong, recognized we'd committed a transgression, promptly admitted it without delay, and made amends as soon as possible.
Step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Sought. We continue daily to pursue our higher power in whom we've entrusted ourselves without reserve. Prayer and meditation. Prayer could be thought of as our transmission upward, an upload of sorts to our higher power. Meditation is our reception or download from our higher power. Improve our conscious contact acknowledges that we do have a conscious contact with our higher power. This is the very essence of our spirituality, this contact with their higher power. As we understood Him, remember, this is our own personal higher power, the same one we've chosen to find for ourselves in our second and third step, the same one we turned our lives over to, the same one we chose to heal us, the same one who removed our shortcomings, including our compulsion to use, and who gave us the gift of recovery. Knowledge of His will for us, we are to pray only for that which He wants for us. We turned ourselves over to Him in step 3. This reinforces that decision. We acknowledge that He alone knows what is best for us and the power to carry that out. He alone gives us the power to do His will. He will provide us with the power to do His will. He is the miracle department. He has better plans for our life than we have for our life. Step 11 is a big step. At first, it's a very difficult step. With practice, it will become effortless. You will turn to Him, and He will be there for you, and you will just feel the connection intuitively.
Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. We have already. It's a done deal. There is no more doubt about it being possible. It's an established fact by now. Spiritual awakening, established and continue to enhance and maintain our relationship with the transcendent, my higher power. Perhaps it is God, whatever you call him. While many agnostics enter the 12-step programs, within 5 years, few of these folks continue to describe themselves as agnostic. Faith grows. Result of these steps. Clearly, this is the outcome of all the work we have done to date and our sacrifice of self in step 3 to our higher power's will. Carry this message. Carry to maintain with me, myself, and to convey to others. This message, the gift of recovery, the steps, the meetings, sponsorship, service work, fellowship, to anybody and everybody who wants it. This program is for those who want it, not for those who need it. We ourselves are living proof of this. We cannot demand anybody into this program. We can, however, command wordlessly people come into this program merely by our presence and our actions. Somebody with good recovery has a certain attractiveness to them. People recognize this. They don't explain it, they don't understand it, they can't put their finger on it, but they just know that there's something about a person in good recovery, and they tend to want to hang around. Therefore, the newcomer is the most important person in any meeting in this program, and in any meeting in the rooms as well. We have to give it away. We can't keep what we do not share. We cannot share without the newcomer. The newcomer is the most important person in any meeting. Therefore, you must continue this hospitality. Practice these principles in all of our affairs. We practice these daily. This is what we do. These principles are the 12-step program in all of our affairs. We don't pick and choose. This is our new way of life. Likely much different from our former way of life.